Now, the local taxi industry is embarking on a major drive to change the way it's perceived. It started by rolling out free Wi-Fi to its users. It's a first for South Africa and goes a long way to bringing internet access to millions of people. And that obviously opens up new brand marketing channels. Correspondent Yashini Padayachee went along for the ride and brings us this story.
Sintako and Y-Taxi are revolutionizing internet connectivity in South Africa. Taxi commuters will now have access to 50 megs of free Wi-Fi. And for advertisers and marketers, this is the perfect opportunity to connect to 15 million consumers. And for the taxi industry, this is part of its strategy to change its image.
The people used to run away from taxis. For brand Santako, want people to love Santako and love taxis. So the industry has built a very strong brand, but a very controversial one in that, because there's been bad service, there's been violence in the industry. So what you see today is not just a marketing gimmick, but a confirmation of what we said in 2010, that we're going to turn the taxi industry around.
Y-Taxi is the tech brain behind the project. It says the technology used is really very simple: a mobile router with a 3G signal. Users get the first 50 megs free and pay for any more data after that. The aim is to have all taxis fitted with Wi-Fi in the next 5 years. But free Wi-Fi is not all commuters can look forward to.
Taxis handle about over millions of rand every day of cash. We want to take that away and put an electronic payment system that you can use your card to pay for your taxi fares, buy in the shop next to you, get into a train, get to how train, an integrated system. So that is one of the innovations around technology that will be coming soon.
It's a win all round for taxi users, business, and those looking to boost their brand power.
And that particular development should be a pleasant surprise for commuters in the future. Brands should be looking for the opportunities right now. On to news now of a not-so-pleasant nature. Media mogul Oprah Winfrey is seemingly losing her Midas touch. Not only is her Oprah Winfrey network reportedly bleeding money in the United States, but the South African version of O magazine will be closing down in September after 12 years on the shelf. Julia Raffaeli, chief executive of Associated Media Publishing, says that this will not result in job losses and that staff will be redeployed to other parts of the company. Associated Media also publishes titles such as Marie Claire and Cosmopolitan. Fans of the magazine taking to Twitter to express their extreme disappointment. All right, leading on from that, someone who has the inside track on some of the big problems, the big challenges, the difficulties being experienced in the publishing industry is Media24 Chief Executive Esmare Weideman. So how tough is the market right now? Where is the debate on digital integration? And how should media houses, big media houses, be interacting with advertisers in this hostile environment? Let's go to Cape Town. Esmare Weideman, warm welcome and thank you very much for joining us. I think it's fair to say there is huge pressure on advertising revenue right now. Let's talk about print specifically. Do you think there's hope for print titles?
Jeremy, yes, I do think there's a lot of hope for print titles. So I think, if one really looks at what's going on with media at the moment, firstly, advertisers are cutting back on their marketing spend. And the real reason for that actually is the economy. The economy is very, very slow, and advertisers, as much as consumers, are feeling the pinch. Secondly, of course, there is this massive transition in media with the move to digital, etc., etc. So I think advertisers, much as there is a lot of value in a beautiful brand ad or very cleverly executed price and product ads for the newspapers, for example, there's a lot of value in those still. I think advertisers are looking for more innovative and more targeted and more measurable campaigns.
Often it's a difficult relationship between the two parties. How do media owners specifically need to change the conversation then when it comes to big brand advertisers?
I think we need to convince them still of the power of print. There seems to be too much negativity about print as far as I'm concerned. And secondly, we need to really demonstrate to them the value in these massive audiences and very, very loyal audiences in print and on digital that the big media companies do have to offer.
Media24 has in recent months has closed titles down. How have you been forced to rethink your magazine strategy, and at what point do you consider closing a title down?
Obviously, if a magazine does not make money, it is very difficult to keep it alive, because at the end of the day, we are business people. We have to create value for our shareholders. So you would look at the particular niche, you would look at which magazines no longer have a life in print. There are some of them who actually have already transitioned, and the audiences have transitioned to digital, so you take that into account. You take into account the contribution that a certain publication makes to your printing presses, for example. And then I must just say, although many publishers are forced to take very hard decisions, and believe you me, it's very hard to close down a magazine, much as you have to close down some titles because it just doesn't make any financial sense anymore, there are still new titles being launched. And I think you need to become very clever in terms of where the markets are, and also media is an evolving business. So sometimes new audiences open up. I'm thinking of, for example, Lose It magazine that has just been launched under the Fair Lady brand. Everybody's banting, everybody's Tim Noakesing, and there is an absolutely specific time right now to actually capitalise on that market.
All right, Esmare, let's not get onto the Tim Noakes thing, because it's a lot of hard work, that. I just want to ask you one final question, if I can. You talk about the evolution of the audience, this explosion of the digital audience. Yet you also made the point in a recent article that the problem is broadband in this country is slow and expensive. You've got a fight on your hands in this respect if you're going to successfully migrate print into digital optimally. This must be very frustrating for someone like you.
It is so frustrating. I believe that we have the brands, we've got the digital properties. Some very, very good work is being done on digital properties. And yes, you do these great things and the audiences are just not always there, or not in the numbers that they should be, to make this viable for both for media and for advertisers. So broadband, I can tear my hair out at the speed of broadband. Broadband in South Africa is more expensive and slower than in many other parts of Africa. So one can only hope that government will get their act together, and that at some stage it will become affordable for people to actually consume media in such a different and such an exciting way.
Esmare Weideman in Cape Town, thank you very much for joining us on Mags on Media. Coming up on the programme, an international expert shares his thoughts on the processes involved in creating great advertising and the magic behind a disappearing car, all to showcase a tracking company's unique brand proposition.
News that moves. enca.com.